And welcome to this week's edition of Lunacy with Colleen Marie. I am your astrological guide to the week ahead, and I am so excited to share as we head into the Memorial Day weekend a little bit about what we have in store for us. One of the big things we have coming up, of course, is Mercury retrograde. Now, many of you have probably heard of Mercury retrograde. It is a time essentially when it appears that Mercury is moving backwards in the sky. It's not really doing that. That has to do with our positioning on Earth, looking at Mercury in the sky. And it's funny because we're headed into retrograde season. We also have Saturn in retrograde. We also have Pluto in retrograde. But Pluto and Saturn do this type of movement for extended periods of time. Their orbits are so slow that this retrograde period is not felt as intensely as when Mercury, one of the fastest moving planets in our solar system, goes into retrograde. And Mercury rules all things to do with the mind and communication. And so, what we'll find as we head into this, time is that we might feel like some of our ability to communicate, to share our feelings, to get things done, to accomplish the day to day minutiae of our lives might feel a little bit retrograde-y, meaning it's moving backwards, it's not moving forwards, and it's not moving the way that we'd like. So just be cautious as we head into this week, because whenever we see Mercury retrograde, expect things like electronics and vehicles and anything with moving parts to struggle. Also, not a great time to sign any major documentation. It doesn't mean you can't do it. And if you have something coming up and you want to ask questions about whether or not it's aspected well for you, by all means reach out. But ultimately, if you can avoid signing those major contracts during this time, do so. If you do sign them now, there may just be major issues that you might have overlooked that you'll have to readdress later. It doesn't mean that it's all doomed. It just means that there might be some, moving backwards again in the future as a result. So just something to be aware of. All right, so before we jump into that, let's start with today. Today is Friday, May 28th, and the moon is in Capricorn. So today you might be feeling like you're focused on big, significant issues. This is a great time to focus on long-term goals. Capricorn really is that sign of taking things seriously. So you might be taking your emotions seriously when we see that the moon is in this positioning. You might be feeling like you really need to look at some issues in your life that you've been putting off and wanting to kind of tie up those loose ends. So this would be a great time to do so. Those long-term lessons are things that, during certain periods of time, it's highly advantageous to look back at them. And both moon in Capricorn and Mercury retrograde are great times for that. So the other thing, though, is that the moon is in a trine position with the planet of Uranus. This is going to bring us some really interesting impulsiveness to our emotional lives and our happiness. So we might find that we're feeling this like craving for excitement. And I don't know about you guys, but heading into this Memorial Day weekend, I know tomorrow is kind of when the Massachusetts mask mandate expires. So I think a lot of us are feeling like they cannot wait to, socialize, get out there, do new things, try new things. So that might be happening for you. You might also experience some unexpected, change during this time. And that can come from within, something that you are, choosing to do that's different, or it can come from the outside in, as in facing situations that you could not have foreseen. Uranus is the planet of completely random, unexpected change. So be cautious around that. The other thing we see is that Mercury and Venus are conjunct right now, and this continues throughout the week. And this is really it's a great time for really paying attention to the patterns that you've seen in relationships. You may be feeling like a bigger appreciation of the long term effects of some of your choices and some of your beliefs. You might be shifting some of those beliefs. You might be kind of coming to a place of understanding yourself when it comes to relationships and when it comes to how you view them. So expect some breakthroughs here. It also is a great time to communicate your feelings for someone. If you have romantic feelings for someone, this might be a really good time today to let them know. And the other thing though is that it is square Uranus. So the response you get to these types of overtures might be a little bit unexpected. Whether it's that suddenly they say, I feel the exact same way, or suddenly they say, I don't. So again, this Uranus influence is going to affect that. But you're also just, again, feeling that impulsivity, maybe feeling a little scatterbrained, just really wanting that excitement in your life today. Then let's head into tomorrow. Tomorrow is a little bit of a different energy. For one, the moon is going to be opposite the planet of Mars. Mars is all about, action and energy. And hi, Asher. And you might be feeling a little emotionally combative on Friday, maybe a little, on Saturday, a little defensive, maybe easily irritated and triggered. So just be cautious of that, especially when it comes to how you relate with others. Try not to argue just for the sake of arguing tomorrow. The other thing tomorrow is that we see that the moon is actually sextile the planet Neptune. This is where some of this depth comes in tomorrow, because we're seeing whenever Neptune's involved, we're going to be feeling like we need some emotional alone time. Maybe feeling like we need to escape a little bit. Maybe we just need to, channel it towards more spiritual pursuits and things like meditation and, time alone in nature. But ultimately, this moon, Neptune is a really positive connection. So you're going to feel a little more connected to the psychic side of life, a little bit more spiritual on Saturday. So that does come in. And then we also see that the moon on Saturday will be conjunct Pluto. Pluto is a very deep planet, a very intense planet. So you might be feeling a little overwhelmed with your emotions. Just remember that will pass after Saturday. Avoid acting emotionally on Saturday if you can. It's just a really good time to kind of take a step back and look at everything from a broader perspective. Because the other thing that happens, of course, on Saturday is that Mercury retrograde I was just talking about. So Mercury retrograde is in Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So we're going to feel this on a really, really, really intense level, many of us. And this is, going to affect our communication, machinery, moving parts. As I said, you're just going to kind of feel like for the next couple weeks you can't get your thoughts straight and maybe have struggle with communicating them. And the good news of this is it's a really good time to revisit old projects, to go back to things that you have yet to finish. You may find that out of nowhere, people from your past come back in during this time. So be cautious and wary of that. It's a good time not to answer texts from your exes. So just something to think about. If you are a twin flame, if there's any twin flame energy for you in your life, this might be a time where you hear from them, because Gemini is the sign of the twins. So just something to be aware of. All right, so let's head on into Sunday, the 30th. So on Sunday, we're going to see the moon moving into Aquarius. And once again, that brings in the emotional excitability that we've been talking about with the planet of Uranus, because Uranus rules Aquarius. So there's going to be some impulsivity, but there's also this really strong desire to see the big picture, to want to create a more innovative, forward-moving world that's focused on the greater good for all. So that also does come in for us on Sunday. And you really will have this desire for authenticity in your life. And that's such an important thing to embrace. The other thing that can come in is, ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, synchronicity, when things just kind of align out of nowhere. That's what Moon in Aquarius will often bring. We also have the fact that the sun and the moon are in a trine, which is a really positive aspect, which means a lot of the things that. Are you okay? All right. Sorry. A lot of the things that you want in your life and the things that you need will actually be in alignment. And that's always good. Things will flow a little bit more easily on Sunday. And then the other thing that's coming in this week is a Mars trine Neptune. Mars is all about energy and action, and Neptune tends to idealize these things. If you're feeling a little bit of pressure when it comes to getting your summer body ready, if you're feeling like you need to get out there and move, this is actually a good time to do so. It's a good time to make changes for your health and for your physical well being. Your energy might be a little, high right now, or alternately, it might feel a little woozy. You might not exactly feel like you have normal energy. It can kind of go either way when Neptune's involved. So just be cautious, be aware of that. But ultimately, this is a positive connection between Mars and Neptune. So hopefully, you won't be too hard on yourself about, maybe the COVID 20 that we all put on in 2020. And we'll head into summer feeling like, you know what, it's okay. I love myself exactly as I am. Monday, the 31st, Memorial Day, the moon is trine Mercury. So now we're again talking about communication, and it is in retrograde. So we might be having some communication with our loved ones that is revisiting old themes that have not been resolved yet. So this is a really good time to do so. And, it's a good time to just get together with people you love. So if you have plans on Monday to see some family and friends, that is certainly advantageous for you. Tuesday, June 1st, the moon comes into a conjunction with the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is all about expansion and generosity and optimism and buoyancy, but it can also be a little indulgent, especially when it comes into contact with the moon. So your moods might swing a little bit, so just be wary of feeling like you are the one who knows best and you know what others want better than they know for themselves. So that's something to be cautious of. And also beware of overindulgence on Tuesday, comfort eating, finding ways to kind of like be a little indulgent, if you will. And yes, the moon is still in Aquarius, so freedom is going to be a theme on Monday, and just wanting to maybe get away a little bit or just escape a bit. That's coming in. Wednesday, that comes in even more. The moon moves into the very spiritual and escapist and esoteric sign of Pisces. It is also the third quarter of the moon, and during that time is when we tend to kind of go inward as we prepare for the new moon. We've come to complete fruition with the full moon, and now we're headed into a darker, less expansive, expressive place and more inward place during that third quarter. So the moon's in Pisces, which is very internal. The moon is in the third quarter, which is also very internalized. And then it's also conjunct the planet Neptune, which rules Pisces. So it brings in again this deep side of who we are. So this is a really self-aware time and probably a very spiritual and psychic time. It's a great time for meditation, great time for journaling, for contacting, any energies that are beyond the veil, or listening for messages from the beyond. There's a lot of that potential there, and we all have these capabilities, whether we realize it or not. And the other thing is that Venus on Wednesday will move into the similarly watery sign of Pisces. So Venus in Pisces is where we're going to really feel nurtured and wanting to nurture others for the next couple of weeks. Our focus in our relationships is going to be on having this nurturance, having this kind of just deep and almost maternal appreciation for our loved ones. And this is a good time for cuddling and good conversations and vulnerability and sorry. Um and feeling like, your boundaries might be a little blurry as well. So be wary of codependency over the next couple weeks when it comes to relationships. That's just something that we definitely can it can happen a lot whenever the moon is in. Um, you saying hi? Speaking of cuddles. Hi. So, yeah, it's a really good time for connection with our loved ones during this time, but also for codependency too. So just be cautious. It can go either way. And finally, on Thursday, the sun is trine the planet of Saturn. So this is where we're going to feel like some major significant lessons in our lives, really about who we are, what our long-term goals are, whether it comes down to our career, how others view us in society, the way that we show up in the world. There are some really big lessons that are going to be coming to a place of resolution. And that's going to be coming through for us on the 3rd, on Thursday. So your long-term goals, you're going to feel like you've come into a shift around those. So I'm excited for that for all of us. And again, we see the moon is trine Venus on Tuesday. So there's that emotional codependency that I was talking about, the potential for conflict, especially with other women or with women in your life. And just be cautious around those types of relationships on Thursday, because there just might be a lot of emotionality there. And finally, we have the Venus being trine Jupiter on Thursday the 3rd. So Jupiter is all about being forgiving and expansive and optimistic. And when it's paired with Venus, it means that our relationships are going to feel like they're flowing. Maybe they feel a little lucky. You feel optimistic about how things are going. So that's a really positive day overall. And that would be next Thursday, the 3rd. And the day after that, I'll be coming live for you again to check in for the week ahead. I hope that this served you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you ever want to get in touch with me, you can head over to my website, ColleenMurrayHealing.com. I am offering a special right now for those of you who are watching. If you're interested in getting your birth chart read, I typically charge between $77 to $111. And right now they're on sale for $44, and you get a 30-minute recorded video going over the basics of your birth chart. It tends to be very in-depth. It's not just the basics. It gives you a lot of information and a lot of insight. And that's what I think the power of astrology is really to give us an opportunity to, understand ourselves, because we chose the moment of our incarnation. And the stars are as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you're interested, let me know. Thank you as always for tuning in to Luna C, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.